Do I have any real faith in the $10 done-for-you sites that are available? In all honesty, I really do not. And I say that not because it's not possible to make them work, but I think the way that they are sold and presented in terms of the creators are not telling you that you should do a lot of customization and have your own content. Essentially just use what they're giving you as kind of a backup for your leading content, which should be all of the unique work that you are doing for a website. They really pitch it as simply install and set up your site and you're good to go. And the problem that I find with that is getting traffic to that site. If you have some methods that you go about that don't have anything to do with search engines or especially Google or social media, perhaps, you can maybe drive traffic to a site like that, and those sites might be able to convert that traffic into commissions for you. But the problem that I usually see with them is actually getting the traffic to them. So I think in the way that they are sold and presented is not ideal for the Amazon affiliate environment. Amazon's really not looking for websites that are basically a complete copy of the information that they have available on the Amazon website. They're looking for you to bring some real value to your partnership with them in order to earn those commissions. They're not looking for you to basically just steal traffic from keyword phrases that people might be searching for after looking at an Amazon product, perhaps. So there are some situations where I think people can take those done-for-you sites and use them as a basis for something grander that they are doing. Maybe they're simply using that done-for-you content as some of the backup content on their site, just some miscellaneous articles that they may have on there. In those kind of situations, I do think it is okay, but it takes, again, still a lot of work. You have to make your own custom content to go along with it and make that the star and basically rearrange the way that those done-for-you sites are intended to be used. Let's see, George is asking which Web 2.0 sites do I recommend? Previously, this was always Squidoo, and unfortunately, Squidoo just kind of ducked out recently and kind of left everything hanging, went over to Hub Pages, but obviously if you didn't make that transition pretty quickly. I have not gotten a lot of time to go through Hub Pages and determine whether it is something that I would consider a viable replacement for Squidoo or not, but it could potentially be a good candidate. However, I can't confirm that because I have not personally gone through it and experimented with it. With that said, there are not a lot of other Web 2.0 sites that I was dependent upon, and I really wasn't dependent upon Squidoo. I just used it as a backup marketing source for my sites. I try to depend on search engine traffic as a primary source and maybe even social media as a secondary source. And then I'll have these other options out there, Squidoo being one of them, that would help me to drive additional traffic into my sites. So I'm not as heavily dependent upon Web 2.0 sites as some other Amazon affiliates are. That can actually go back to the done-for-you sites that I was just talking about, that Barbara was asking about, a lot of people will use these different Web 2.0 properties to drive traffic into these done-for-you sites because they know they're not going to be able to get traffic to them through legitimate venues like search engine traffic. Not saying that Web 2.0 traffic can't be good traffic, because it certainly can be, but it's just really a question about what is your approach with a site? How can you reliably generate traffic to it on a regular basis that is targeted to the niche that your website is about? I was just taking a moment to read through your comment, Ron. I'm glad you're enjoying the training, and sorry you got held up in the e-commerce management job. I totally know what that's like. In the early days, I guess you could say, I had a normal type of job along with toying around with the internet stuff and wasn't really quite sure which direction to go on, and I kind of, I guess, sat in that job, if you will, for a number of years and just kind of got complacent with it, and eventually did break out, and I certainly wish that I had gotten started many years earlier than I already had. Glad to hear that you have a couple sites running that are making you money now, and please feel free to let me know if you have any additional questions for me. Yes, Joe, my screen is currently a Google search page. Since today's webinar is really just based on what you guys want to learn, I do have the screen sharing going on, so if need be, I can simply pull something up on my screen and show it to you guys. But otherwise, there's not content that basically goes along with this training, so nothing really going on the screen at the moment, at least. That's a good question, Yusuf. Yusuf is asking about website analytics. Why is there a difference in the data between your hosting account and your Google Analytics account, referring to the number of website visitors, for example? The data that you are getting from Google Analytics is really more the data that I would go by. I find that the hosting data is actually inflated, but for a good reason. You have people that are visiting your site, per se. They're accessing or maybe pinging a different address on your actual domain name, but they might not actually be visiting your website personally. One good example of this is the Googlebot. When the Googlebot crawls your website and indexes various pages, these are going to be showing up as visitors in your hosting data. But this information will not end up showing up in your Google Analytics account. So the hosting information is still sometimes useful information to have. If you are ever having problems with security, perhaps, maybe your website is getting a denial of service attack or something more extreme like that, that data can actually help you to track people that may be accessing your website in different ways other than just going to publicly accessible pages on your site. But otherwise, in terms of using traffic data to analyze it and to help you to make decisions with your website in terms of adjustments or future expansion that you should be making, I definitely depend solely on the Google Analytics data for that. That's quite all right that you're still at the job, Ron, for 7 years now. Jobs can be good in terms of helping you to get to where you want to go, in my opinion. It's really, really hard to just up and quit your job and dive into it and automatically become successful, because obviously, you know, we all have bills to pay and they're due every month, and it's really hard to get things rolling within just a period of a single month. However, working a job alongside of doing something else, if you have that motivation to keep going, to build something more than what you think you might ordinarily be able to get in terms of just working a normal career, then I think it's great motivation to help you to get out of it, and also helps to provide the stability to let you experiment and maybe not take as large of risk as you ordinarily would take. Used to be a sheet metal construction worker. Actually sounds pretty cool. Sounds a lot better than what I used to do. I used to be a cook. Before that, I was a server. I guess I worked in a restaurant as a teenager and basically never left there. Kept working my way up. Ended up as a food production manager, and I just got sick of the working 60, 70 hours a week, making next to nothing and killing myself. And I knew I could do better because I had gone to school for computer animation, and I've always been doing computers and been building websites ever since I was 11 or 12 years old or so. So keep pushing, you'll get out of there. Yeah, I essentially taught myself everything too, minus my computer animation knowledge that I got from college. I never actually did any kind of career in anything related to that. All my programming and website type of knowledge, it's all self-taught, so you know, you definitely don't have to go to school for this kind of work. Lee, what is my opinion of lead pages? I'm actually not familiar with lead pages. I can take a look real quick and give you a opinion. Oh, sure. I have to sign up for your newsletter. If you want to tell me a little bit about lead pages, perhaps, I'd be happy to maybe give you my opinion just based on that initial information. In terms of having more information beyond that or an opinion of it, unfortunately, I don't think I can help out since I've never used it before. Let's see, Joe is asking if I'm going to sell a hard product on Amazon, what is the best way to search for keywords for the item? By hard product, do you mean something that would ordinarily have a lot of search engine competition, perhaps? Or are we talking more about maybe a higher priced product. Oh, you mean like how do you find out what people are searching for when they're looking? Okay, a lot of Azon search competition. There are a couple of different things that I do when I am faced with a product that I know ordinarily I might not be able to tackle because of competition. I either try to get more specific with my search words, as specific as possible in terms of, let's say I was trying to sell a car on Amazon. I could obviously go for a keyword like car, which would have a ton of competition, but that car that I'm selling or trying to sell would be a very specific type of car. And it might even have more specifics beyond just a brand name and a model name. It might have some other unique characteristics to it. And things like that are often the keywords that people are searching for in terms of trying to locate a very specific product. The other way I go about it is trying to think of what people would be using that product for. So having to do with a car, I might have a page about fixing up cars or customizing cars to make them more powerful. I might have a page about racing cars or a page about collecting cars. Any different aspect that you can think of that would attract the type of people that would be interested in that kind of product is another way that you can sometimes go about targeting them while completely avoiding the actual product keyword phrases. So there are a lot of situations where you may not be able to find a specific enough product keyword phrase, and you might have to then go to more of the uses of that product instead. Let's see, Ron is asking about the discrepancy he sees in AdWords bid prediction versus what you actually end up paying. It has probably been, I'm trying to think how long, I would say at least 2 years, maybe 3 years, or even more than that, since I have actively used AdWords. Since that time, I've switched over to using Facebook ads instead, especially as Google began to get even more and more picky about what you could advertise and how you could go about advertising it. So I may not have the most up-to-date information there, and it can definitely depend on how you are actually going about placing that bid in terms of what your keyword phrase is. There are a couple of different kinds of keywords that you can place a bid on with Google. Essentially, you have your exact match and your broad match and your phrase match. So with that said, if you are simply bidding on a general keyword phrase, like sports cars, for example, it might estimate the bid to be 5 cents for that keyword phrase. However, it's going to be a broad match keyword phrase, so it's actually going to be matching essentially any other keyword phrase that contains the word sports car or is closely related to that keyword phrase as well. So in that regard, your advertisement can end up being shown for keyword phrases that Google may not have originally been predicting. Maybe on a lot of the general sports car keyword phrases, the bid amount was indeed 5 cents. But then it may have been put on other keyword phrases that the bid amount was a lot higher. And in order to get the first page, like you're saying, the 225 minimum first page bid, those keyword phrases may have actually been fetching a higher price. And those may have ended up being the keywords that your ad was being displayed on. Youssef, do I recommend some writer services which can be used for content creation? I do not have a specific one that I would recommend to use because I think it kind of depends on what your situation is and what your website is about. Obviously, you have a ton of different niches, and you can simply hire a writer that can adapt to pretty much any situation and learn about a niche and then write content about it. But then you could also go and hire more of a specialist if you have the budget for doing something like that, because it'll definitely cost a little bit more. And depending on those situations and what your niche is and what you're really looking for, there are essentially a lot of different places that you can go to. Actually, beyond hiring people that I know or people that might be customers of mine, I have also done some hiring of writers off of Craigslist. But a lot of that has been for more location-specific type of websites. A lot of the other types of sites that I have built, I've ended up writing a lot of my own content over the years for those. Okay, Lee, that's not a problem. It sounds like lead pages could definitely be a useful service. I will try to take a look at that video demo, and I can even ask around about it. I'm in some Skype groups of other marketing product developers, and I would not be surprised if somebody there has some knowledge on it that might be able to be passed along. Oh, I see what you're talking about, Joe. You are actually trying to sell a product on Amazon and not just refer sales on a product as an affiliate. You're actually going to be the vendor. And you have to supply your own search keywords. What I would do is, first of all, try to determine some standard keyword phrases for Google, for example, that you think people might search to specifically find your product, in terms of maybe not the brand or the model of your product, but what it actually is. Beyond that, I would also search around on Amazon itself and try to find some similar products. You can sometimes go to those products and detect what kind of keywords they are trying to target based on what they have loaded into their title, in addition to the actual name of the product. A lot of times people will stuff an extra couple of keyword phrases into the title there. Go after obviously closely relational keyword phrases, but also what might appear to be popular keyword phrases based on bestseller information, the different lists that they have that are going on all the time. Lee, I do not have a opinion from personal experience with one-on-one web hosting. I know at least a number of years ago they were definitely more of a cheaper budget web host compared with a company like HostGator, but then again you can kind of see where HostGator has gone from all of that with their support as well. I don't have firsthand experience with using one-on-one though. Ron, my experience with Facebook ads, what kind of success am I having there? He is asking about. Having to do with Amazon affiliate products specifically. My success there has really been more with building a fan page and not actually promoting anything specific on Amazon in terms of trying to get a direct response type of sale. I've done more building a fan page so they can follow the content and the posts that are going on the fan page and or on the website itself, because once you can get somebody to like your fan page, then you might be able to simply post something and get it in front of their eyes on Facebook in the future without paying anything. Or you can still potentially put some extra advertising money into boosting a fan page post to get more of your people viewing it and to get more engagement on it. In terms of direct response type of sales, my success there with Facebook ads has really been more outside of the Amazon affiliate niche. I simply personally find that the commission that you're going to be earning off of a single sale is really not enough to cover the cost of the average Facebook ad in terms of driving enough visitors to take a look at it until you refer one single sale. And then you look at the commissions that are coming off of that one sale and you compare it to your advertising dollars. Well, when you're promoting the direct response type of sales there as an Amazon affiliate, you have to have a immediate profit on those referred sales, or it's simply not worth your while. So that's really why I go more of the fan page or sometimes building a newsletter route, but I really go for more the fan page option. With my own products or with affiliate products that can bring a much larger commission than just a couple of dollars. You need to be hitting $10, $20 plus per commission in most cases. I will then do direct response selling type of ads on Facebook with them. But that's typically not within the Amazon affiliate industry. Let's see, Barbara is asking, when writing, how many keywords do I focus on in each article, and do I follow the silo method of structuring your site? The keyword amount, I am typically looking to hit a bare minimum of 500 words. More recently, over the last year, I prefer to go more on the 800 to even 1,000 word end. The more in-depth content definitely seems to help in terms of getting the Google rankings these days. If you are having problems getting rankings after putting up, say, 1,000 words for a particular page, there may be other factors involved that would need to be fine-tuned to be able to get that ranking, such as structuring your site. I don't really call how I structure my site the silo method. I didn't really grow up reading books or watching videos or going through training manuals. A lot of my information was simply learned from years and years of trial and error. And so I never really called it the silo method, but it is essentially still the same thing that I do with my websites. You definitely want your content to be structured and organized, not just for the people that visit your website, but also for the search engines that index your website, because this is definitely going to help in terms of helping the search engines to realize which pages of your content are highly relational to certain subject matters. The jelly bean example, I think, is a great example to use for anybody that may not know what the silo method is. Think of your website like a big jar of jelly beans. If I asked you to pick out all the red jelly beans, it would take you a long time to do it. And in fact, you might miss some. Well, the search engines work the same way. If you just have a website and all of your pages are simply piled on it, your website might be simply a big jar of jelly beans, and Google might be a little confused about what your website is actually about, and therefore it won't place a lot of importance on your various pages of content and the different keywords you're trying to target. So think of the jelly beans in terms of your website content. You have different colors of jelly beans. If you look at the content on any given website, especially a larger website, chances are you could sort and organize that content into a couple of different categories. Each category basically being a different subject or a sub-niche under your main niche that your entire website is about. And each of those subjects and sub-niches are your different colored jelly beans. So you want to build a website that is not a big jar of jelly beans all mixed together. You want to build a website that is a bunch of separate jars of jelly beans with each individual color sorted out in each separate jar. So you accomplish this by structuring your site in terms of what pages link up with other pages on your website. And you want all of the similar pages to only be linking up to those similar pages and the pages that are above it. You don't want it linking up to the other colors, because then you're mixing your jelly beans together. Let's see, Joe, any software I'm aware of for Amazon search? I cannot think of the name off the top of my head, especially for something more like what you're looking for a vendor purpose to find those search keywords. I know there are some Amazon affiliate products that have essentially scraped those keyword phrases, but it's not going to really be able to give you information in terms of volume, the amount of traffic that would be on those different search words. So in that regard, I really think your best bet to determine which search key phrases might be more popular than others would really be to base it off of the best-selling products that are out there. Try to find a best-selling list relational to the product that you're trying to sell. Look at some of the top-selling products there and try to determine some of the search phrases that they might be going after. Try to search for some of those phrases then and see if you can get those products to pop up towards the top of your list is one way of confirming that. That's awesome to hear, Ron. I was reading your comment about the niche sites that you've been building with my course, paralleling it with a Facebook page, and the fact that you definitely believe that a niche website must have usable and knowledgeable content. I really think that's kind of the one aspect of it that if you do all other things right, that one part can end up making or breaking the success of the site. Even if you can build a really popular site that makes you money in the beginning, if it's a completely useless website, eventually it's not going to be making money anymore. It's just a matter of time. It might be a couple months, it might be a couple years. Eventually it'll stop if it's not a useful website in some way. Joe, any info on AdWords and pay-per-click? I saw some Amazon sites with AdWords. You can add AdWords into an Amazon site to either supplement the income that you're making with Amazon or as a way of monetizing traffic on an Amazon niche that maybe you just can't figure out or can't get to convert. For example, if you're getting search traffic to a website and you've tried promoting all different kinds of Amazon products relating to that niche, different price ranges, you've tried promoting them in different ways, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to generate any sales or maybe enough sales to make it worth your while, but it frustrates you because you have a lot of traffic on that site. That is one of the situations where, at least for me personally, I've taken Google AdWords and I'll throw it on the website. And I'll just say, okay, let me convert some of that traffic into Google AdWords clicks. Since I can't get the traffic converted into sales on Amazon for one way or another, I'll let somebody else worry about converting that traffic. So in that regard, I think it is a good alternative of something to do with Amazon sites. If they get traffic, but you simply can't get the logistics worked out to actually convert that into sales. However, if you have a successful Amazon website and you're converting a lot of sales. Personally, I would not want to add AdWords into that website simply because I might end up losing some of those sales through Google AdWords, and I might end up getting paid less. Somebody might pay $1 to get them to go over to their site and then buy the product, whereas maybe I could have made $10 if I had just sent that sale myself. So I try not to distract people on successful websites where they're actually completing the goals that I am looking for them to complete. Let's see, is the use of subdomains helpful? Lee is asking. I really think it depends on how you go about using them. Think about how Google uses a subdomain. Pretty much all of the different Google services that they have are actually a subdomain. It's part of the Google brand, but they're all separate entities and services. I think as long as the same thing could be applied to your own website, I do think it is okay to use subdomains, and I do think it can be helpful to your website in that way. But I think it's really all about how you go about using it. If you simply use a lot of subdomains to create completely different, unrelated websites, and there's really nothing to tie them all together short of that they're all promoting Amazon products or that they're all e-commerce websites, I don't really think that that is the proper use of subdomains. It's really more of a way of avoiding the cost of a domain name with each new site that you build. But in terms of a search engine looking at your website, I do not believe that that type of practice is actually beneficial. There needs to be something that ties them all together beyond the fact that they're simply sites that are trying to sell a product. Let's see, Barbara, that's a good question. Where do I place my blog in my structure? You have an information site with lots of instructive articles, and then your blog is more relaxed and personal, but still on the subject. Should I keep it separate in some way? I would definitely recommend to keep it separate in some way. I wouldn't necessarily put it on a completely separate website. That could be one example of where using a subdomain could be a proper use of it, to have your main website on the domain itself and maybe your blog runs on a subdomain of it and they're all linked up together. But then you could also simply leave everything all on the same domain name, but still separate those areas of your site in terms of your site structuring. Simply have your blog in a subdirectory of your site. So everything, for your blog at least, is siloed off in its own separate section from the rest of the website. But then I would definitely take advantage of using the search power that you build up from creating a bunch of different relational pages on your blog and use that to link up to your relevant pages on your actual website to essentially funnel your blog traffic along to your website to the points where you would be completing your goals, whether that's referring a sale on an Amazon product or getting them to sign up for a newsletter or whatever the case may be. Yes, Joe, I agree. The only problem with my methods of building sites is that it takes a long time. I wish that wasn't the case, honestly. I wish there was a way to simply click a button and have it all done for you. And I think that is what is so appealing about things like done-for-you websites, for example. It appeals to the work aspect of getting it created, but you still always have to consider what comes after that and which one actually leads to success in the end, which one leads to being able to generate traffic or to having a good standing with Amazon, for example. There are some cases where I use automated software to help me to save time with different aspects of my work. Just don't replace anything that should be unique work with automation. That would especially be your content, your keyword selections, in my opinion at least, and even your product selections. Personally, I don't like to use the automated methods for those types of things because I feel it produces different results from it. Pretty much anything beyond that, though, if you do have some kind of automated software that can help you to save some time with it, as long as you're not wiping out the unique, creative, useful aspect of your project, then I certainly think that is fine to do. There's nothing wrong with using, automated software to help you save time. It's just a matter of what is it helping you to save time to do, and is it actually going to be beneficial for you in the end? Will it still produce a successful website? Lee, using subdomains for their own websites, assuming they're going to be completely separate subjects and really not have any relation to one another, personally I would not recommend doing that. I'd recommend just getting a separate domain name for each and just keeping them separate sites like they actually are. If they have a reason to be together, if they have a reason to be linking up to one another, if they're relational to one another, then you could consider using a subdomain. But I certainly wouldn't use it for just creating completely separate websites. Yes, Barbara. It could definitely be contextual links to the homepage from your blog page, I believe you were asking about. And let's see, also, how many products do I recommend showing in any one area on any one site? Personally, I like to try to keep things simple. Now, Amazon does not provide the most in-depth or all-encompassing type of tracking information having to do with your links and clicks and conversions. They catch everything that's on their end, but they don't catch what's going on your website. And unfortunately, they actually prohibit you to try to track that kind of stuff. So in that regard, it's hard to do extremely specific tests with Amazon advertisements. However, I've definitely experimented with a wide variety of types of advertising beyond just things as an affiliate or even things on Amazon for that matter. And I've definitely found that simple works out better than complicated, pretty much 99 times out of 100. Unless there is a really, really good reason to get complicated with it, don't. Stay on the simple side. And I think that still applies to promoting products as well. I would much rather promote one really relevant product, what I think would be the best pick for somebody that is looking at that page on my site, and I'd rather just promote that one product than try to load that page with 5 or 10 different product advertisements, hoping that I will pick the right one for matching up to that particular person or what they might be looking for. I try to craft my content to ensure that the person on that page, assuming they've gotten to that page from a descriptive link on another page of my site or through search engine keywords, then I should know what they're going to be interested in on that page of my site. And I can give them the most relevant advertisement as a result. So by comparison, when you give somebody a lot of choices, instead of them focusing on whether or not they want to buy, they're more focused on that choice instead. And it's simply another step in the process that they have to go through to actually get to completing that sale. Let's say somebody does a Google keyword search for a particular keyword. They land on a page of your site. You deliver the content on that page of your site to help to educate them in terms of what it was they were searching for. By the time they finish your content, they should be feeling confident about proceeding with completing a sale. But then if you simply hit them with another choice, they might be back to the drawing board, essentially. And then they might have to feel like they have to go and research these 10 different products. And somewhere along the way, it definitely becomes a lot easier to lose somebody by giving them all those choices than simply giving them the most likely thing that they are looking for. So while I do not have the actual data to back up a statement like that with Amazon affiliate ads, I definitely have data to back up statements like that with things outside of the affiliate industry, things outside of Amazon itself, selling my own products. They sell much, much better if you just give people one price point. If you give them a whole bunch of different price points that they have to truly think about, unless it's a no-brainer type of price point selection, a single price point always converts better. So the same type of thing definitely applies to Amazon, and I've always had more success just putting one carefully selected product on each page, unless I have a really good reason for putting more than one. Maybe I'm featuring a couple of different kinds of products on one page because maybe the page is about a particular use, and maybe they need a couple of products to go along with that particular use. the what comes after is what you've been learning for 5 years, but the what comes first is what you still have a problem with. Like, definitely try to reverse course on that, and learn the what comes first part. However, if you've definitely been spending that amount of time learning the what comes after part, then once you get that what comes first part, it's all going to click really, really fast. And you'll go from feeling like you do now to feeling like you can tackle pretty much any situation really, really quickly, since you have all of that later on knowledge already. My recommendation, though, with the what comes first part, just build a website. Try. If it fails, you try again. You move on to the next one. If you get a failure, though, look at it. Try to understand why it failed. So then at least the next time you can avoid whatever it was that you did that caused that failure the first time around. And if nothing else, yes, Ron, that's exactly how I learned too, actually. I spent years doing that. And you eventually figure it out. But if you have some, rough guidance and advice that you can go off of, you can hopefully avoid the years and whittle it down into hopefully just a couple of months to go through all the trial and error instead. That sounds like a good niche, Ron. I won't share it here. When people specifically name a niche in more of a public venue like this, I try not to actually share what it is. Just simply because I would hate to bring a firestorm of competition upon you, and but I have done some sites in that general niche, well, in a very specific corner of that niche, I guess you could say, and I have zero interest in that myself whatsoever. In fact, I was a little torn about whether to even build a site about that, because it just doesn't agree with me, and who I am. So, you do have some circumstances like that come up with building, especially affiliate websites, and it's just kind of a question of whether it's worth it or not for you. Sometimes doing something like that, you just kind of have to look at it in perspective and basically say, okay, well, maybe I don't agree with this, but is my website, or is me trying to promote these products, actually going to be talking anybody into doing that? Chances are, if it's one of those kinds of niches, the people that are already interested in it are interested in it. You're not talking them into doing that. You're not changing their mind. You're just giving them some guidance and pointing them in the right direction. And if nothing else, maybe you can put a few little things in there about what you don't like to maybe help to try to correct it in a couple of people that come in and read your website. So I've kind of done some things like that for myself, as long as I don't feel like I'm actually going to be altering people or talking people into doing something that I personally don't agree with. I don't think it's really a bad thing to do necessarily. And for those of you that are just sitting back wondering, this isn't anything weird or anything. I'm not talking about like an adult site or anything like that. It's just one of those niches where you either love it or you hate it kind of things, like guns. You either love or you hate them, for example. I just didn't want to specifically name what it was he was talking about. Let's see, I believe I have covered everybody's questions here. Just checking back through just to be sure I didn't miss anybody. If you do have something else you would like to ask, though, please feel free to chime in at any time. Be more than happy to answer your question for you. I don't really have a predefined ending time for these question and answer webinars. It's just more really about sticking around to answer however many questions you guys have for whoever decides to show up. So if you have some more questions, feel free to load them on me. Be more than happy to answer. You're quite welcome, Ron. I'm glad you find them helpful, and glad you were able to make this one as well. I kind of see a different range of faces, I guess, at most of these. There's a few people that seem to try to show up to all of them, but I'm definitely glad that I can maybe offer them at different days of the week or different times or something, just to try to cover as many different possible people as I can. It's 1 a.m. there, Barbara. Sorry to keep you up so late. I will definitely, let's see, it is October. I have 2 more before the end of the year. Before the end of the year, either the November or the December one, I will run at least one webinar that will be earlier than 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just for the people in other parts of the world, so they can have a bit of a change of pace and not have to stay up to all hours of the night. I'm glad you find it worth it. Thank you. Let's see, Joe, you would like to see a video on specific SEO implementing. Have you gone through the Azon Masterclass training videos yet? In particular, the beginnings of Azon Masterclass 1, Azon Masterclass 2, kind of up to the point where the websites are planned, basically. I share a number of different approaches to SEO implementing and targeting in general, as far as the whole website niche goes, and targeting more specific in terms of each individual page on the site goes as well. That's true, Ron. Webmasters and marketers are creatures of the night. Anyways, I have a wife and 3 kids, so I don't tend to do as many super late nights as I used to, but when things get too crazy around the house, the nights are my best friend, because I can always just wait till nighttime when everyone else goes to bed and it's nice and quiet, and I can concentrate and get done what I need to get done. So even to this day, I still tend to stay up a little on the late side, at least on days where I need to get things done. Okay, Joe, I am going to make myself a note here for you. I'm going to, it might not be you, Joe. I'm going to take a look, and if need be, I will either point you in the right direction or simply create some new training to show you what it is that you are looking for. Ron, you're single but engaged now, and you stay up as late as 3 to 4 a.m. My fiance says that will change after we're married. That's probably true. I guess it depends, though. You know, like, for example, if your job was, let's say you worked in a manufacturing plant, and the only time you could work was third shift, you know, your wife certainly wouldn't have a problem with you working when work needs to be done. My best recommendation there is to simply, I guess, think about it in terms of the work part of your day and the other part of your day, which, you know, likely will end up being devoted to, you know, your fiance and wife. If you want to stay up late and work all night perhaps, and see her for the other part of your day, maybe you get up in the afternoon and, you know, sleep all morning. If you can essentially, I guess get her to see that it's not really any different from maybe you going out in the morning and working all day long and then coming home and spending the evening with her. You know, she still gets the same amount of time with you. You simply just get control over, yeah, it's all kind of about adapting. And hey, you know, sometimes unexpected things happen when you're married. You know, maybe you'll end up waking your wife up in the middle of the night, and maybe she'll sleep better without you in bed with her. And, you know, working all night while she sleeps can sometimes accomplish that. I toss and turn in my sleep, and even in a king-size bed, I still manage to end up waking my wife up probably once a night. I guess the other part of it is, you know, if you have to work a normal job, yeah, if it's making the money, it's kind of hard to complain about it. If you're having to work a normal job, you know, first shift, and maybe you're staying up all night long and then sleeping all afternoon, and they never get to see you at all, you know, obviously that becomes a different story. But just make sure she feels like she's getting her fair share, and try to rationally explain to her why maybe the night works out better than the other times of the day. When I was first getting started, for example, I had really young children in the house. Well, when I was getting started with the product development type of things, making my own software and training and stuff. And if I wanted to make a training video, for example, it just wasn't possible with, you know, an under 2-year-old running around the house screaming all day long. So nighttime was simply the time to do that kind of stuff. And, you know, that was completely understood, because it was more hassle to try to keep the house quiet or to say, hey, I need you to get lost with all the kids for a couple of hours so I can shoot a video or something. You know, it just was a lot easier to simply try to work around their schedule instead of make them adapt to mine. Are you talking about WP Semantic, Joe? Wow, House of Seven. Yeah, I could imagine the nighttime would be the only time a House of Seven would be quiet. Five kids. Wow. Making my heart skip a couple beats. I've got 3 and they're a handful, that's for sure. Stretching all the way from my youngest will be turning 3 this next month, and my oldest just turned 13. I'm trying to think of what you're talking about, Joe. I'm drawing a blank on another SEO plugin. It's possible it might not be mine. I guess there's a slight chance it could be something I've promoted as an affiliate, maybe. Yes, I've heard the name run, have not actually used it. It's a keyword research, right? Okay, the one I use in my sites. Okay, I will have to check up on that then and adjust my training. Wait a second, you're not talking about SEO Ultimate, are you? Let's see. No, sorry, Joe. Ooh, really? I'll definitely have to check on that. It's possible it could maybe have been the recent WordPress update or something. Oh, really? Oh, seriously? Joe said they've gone commercial, the SEO plugin. So it's not supported, but it still works. I was gonna say I hadn't noticed anything going wrong with it, and I could have swore I used that within the last couple of days or something. Okay, we're going the way of an all-inclusive framework. Oh, goody. Well, it might be time to go to all-in-one SEO then, if that is indeed true, Joe. I'm going to have to try to take a look at that, and I'll simply update my training if need be. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed by that news too. I've been using it for, I can't remember how long, I would have to say at least 4 years, maybe longer than that, 5 years if not more. No, Ultimate SEO. Joe's saying Ultimate SEO has gone commercial, or at least he's pretty sure that's the one. And all-in-one SEO is the alternate. I know a lot of people use all-in-one SEO. It's not bad. It's just I've always used the other one, and it's always worked just fine for me. And I'm a believer of if it's not broke, then don't fix it. Yeah, the WordPress plugin, not a problem. Well, that's unfortunate, Joe. I can definitely update my training though, and provide an alternative one to use there. They should work fairly similar. It's just going to be a matter of locating where the different settings are, and they might be called something slightly different between the two. But a lot of the basic operations of the two should be pretty similar though. Any additional questions for me tonight, guys? If I'm not mistaken, Joe, I believe all-in-ones, I think it's always been one of the most popular, if not maybe the most popular, on all of WordPress in terms of like a SEO plugin. Yeah, I can imagine it does a lot more now, and probably becoming much more popular with this other one going commercial then. Obviously, my plugins are commercial, so obviously I don't have a issue with plugins being commercial, but I think if you're gonna create a free plugin like that and have it be so heavily used for years and years like that, I don't necessarily agree to the switching to commercial. There's definitely other ways that you can still maybe monetize a free plugin if maybe it's just not worth your while to support it anymore or something without trying to go commercial. But I guess it is what it is, and I'll update my training to provide an alternate with that. Okay, it's just that it's no longer available as a plugin. You just need to use their framework, which it's part of. I see. I wouldn't be surprised if their pre-existing plugins would continue to work, and if that's the case, I might just simply distribute a copy of it, because once a plugin is released in that open source format, while you can try to remove it from WordPress and you can commercialize your product and just only make it available that way, your old plugin is still open source and can always be distributed as long as it's being done so for free and with the same rights that it was originally released under. So I have had a situation like that where a number of years ago a plugin that I used to use and recommend was discontinued like that and upgraded into commercial, and I just provided the plugin for a number of years until I finally just got tired of doing it and just created my own version of those features and integrated it into my own plugins, so I just wouldn't have to recommend it anymore. So one way or another, there will be an alternative solution That's for sure. Well, it looks like a number of people have taken off out of here. Still a few of you left. Does anybody have any extra questions for me, or did you guys pretty much get everything covered that you were curious about this evening? Again, I'll be holding one of these every single month to help you stay up to date with whatever you're currently working on and help you along as you proceed to ensure it all works out for you in the end. You're quite welcome, Joe. Thank you for all of your questions, and everyone else as well. Lee, Barbara, Ron, all of you guys asked a number of things tonight. It's your questions that essentially